feeling your body fill up with air and oxygen, and exhale through your nose. Take a couple more breaths here, following the rhythm of your own breath and your own heartbeat. And just be mindful about where this breath is going. It's reaching every cell inside your body. So your next big inhale in, pause at the top to appreciate all of this air and all of this life force and all of this energy coming in, and exhale through your mouth, a big sigh. Thank you everyone for taking just a minute to sit in stillness and appreciate your body and appreciate your own ability to take a breath and be calm and let go of any shakiness, any stress, any tension. I encourage everyone to at least take 1 minute every day to take a few deep breaths. And the average human being should be able to take in at least 2 pints of oxygen in normal pair of healthy lungs every day. And generally people are taking just about 1. So a regular practice of deep breathing will eventually lead to you using the full capacity of your lungs and your body, giving you a clearer mind to make those important decisions when you have to. Thank you.
Thank you, Shay. That's awesome. And I do feel better. Like I do feel more grounded, and I think that as we talk about the trust that we're going to try and create in virtual meetings, it's really important to remember that it's just small moments that can create that psychological safety on your team. As you know, our team likes to look at the opposite of questions. So instead of asking you, how might we create psychological safety, we want to know, how might we destroy psychological safety for every meeting participant? What can you do to destroy that psychological safety? Now, we took a big risk yesterday and opened up Annotate for you guys. We're going to try this again. And what we're going to try using the text box this time. So if everybody can go to the top, hover over the top of their screen, the drop down button, go to Annotate and choose the text box, and then answer the question on the slide deck. All you have to do is click to create a space where you can type, what can you do to destroy psychological safety for every meeting participant? What are we seeing? Talk over them. Dismiss concerns. Don't ask questions. Mock people's ideas. Good. Roll your eyes and sigh after everyone's comment. Yeah, that'll do it. Oh, force people to turn on video. Talk about the news only. Good. What else have we got going on here? So what'd you see?
I don't leave space for reflection and response.
Ooh, that is a good one. Use phones to do other things. Yeah, like how you know, I know how I feel when I'm trying to talk to somebody and I can tell they're on their phone. So like that does definitely destroy psychological safety. Allow one person to dominate. Yeah, you guys are killing it with this Annotate function today. Although who's got the stamp there? Oh, they're putting what they vote for. So what I want you to do. So what I want you to do is take a look at what you see on your screen and choose one that really resonates with you. Something that, it doesn't have to be your own. It could be something that you read and thought, yeah, that's my number one thing. That really resonated with me. And choose that and put it in the chat box. What we're going to do actually is we're going to have a graphic illustrator create some kind of visual representation of this information we're collecting. So find the one that means the most to you, or you think that would be the most, the worst way to act that will destroy psychological safety. Put it in the chat box, and we're going to collect that information. Let's see if you guys can switch between chat box and annotate. So if you go down, the chat box is at the bottom of your screen, and you just click on it. Make sure that when you're in the group chat, that it's to everyone in the room and not just one single person. Good.
Ooh.
Throw rank.
Throw rank.
Yeah. Don't listen. Put people on the spot. We kind of like to do that a little bit. All right. Well, and you know what? The really important thing here is that when you're creating psychological safety in your team, the way that the safety of your team might be look different than the safety of another team. Using sarcasm to mock people's opinion. Good. All right. All right, Josh, do you want to clear that?
For sure. It's a beautiful
annotation?
piece of art. It's a beautiful piece of art, though. I don't want to get rid of it. All right, let me get rid of everything. Thank you, everybody, for taking part in that. That worked out fantastic.
It did. They're getting better. There was no bad behavior this time. All right, so moving on. So one thing that we want to ask about virtual meetings is that virtual meetings, do they deserve a meeting? So we have this habit of meeting for everything, and online, virtual meetings actually take more energy than in-person meetings if you want to keep this engagement up. So when people have this idea, oh, you know what, it's great that we're meeting virtually now because that means everybody can attend everything. However, what's going to happen is if you book in meetings for everybody, you're going to lose trust that that meeting is necessary. So if there's no step for action and there's only one person talking, those aren't meetings. Those are emails. And if you're not looking for suggestions or to learn from your team, you don't need a meeting. There could be a different mode. Our rule of thumb is if you're just sharing information, use an email. If you're shaping opinions, that requires a meeting. If you're just gathering information, there's other ways you can do that. Surveys, polls, different ways. But if you're gathering people's experience, then yes, a meeting is required.
Perfect. All right. So we've created this very simple to use decision tree because we love these things. And it's just really about that questioning and that idea of like being really, really honest. Does this need to be a meeting? And I love the way Aaron put it. Is this just a moment to share some information with the team? Then maybe we don't need an actual meeting, and maybe it is an email. Unless if it's a celebration, I always like to do something where we kind of get together. It's really about, do you need that input? And I always say, I call that collaborative intelligence. If you're going to embrace the collaborative intelligence of your team and you need their assistance to help kind of move them forward, then that's a good opportunity to pull everybody together. But if you don't need real-time decisions and there's not going to be that really rich conversation, you just question your own ideas. Does this need to be an in-person or a virtual meeting? All right. So we have some very simple, basic ground rules that we like to go with. And some of them seem really, really obvious. Don't multitask and turn on the camera. They do kind of link. So the turning on the camera stops people from multitasking, even if it's just a little bit, because in the cameras here, I see this wonderful grid and I can see a couple people multitasking, but that's okay. That's okay. Because we're all here to learn, but in an actual meeting space and you are looking for input, you want to make sure everybody is, on the same page. The one that I don't know, this is like one of those pet peeves or maybe grinds my gears, is the starting on time piece. This idea of we're just going to give everybody 5 minutes. I think it's really important that we start to set precedents. Every one of our virtual sessions, I could easily say we're going to wait a little bit longer for everybody to show up. But I want everybody to know that I'm punctual. 10 o'clock, on the nose, boom, the music's off, and here we go down into the topic of what we're learning. It just helps keep everybody engaged, and they know that at the beginning, I'm setting it as 10 or noon, not 10, noon, and we're going to start to work on something.
Yeah.
It also
Sorry, I was just going to say, you want to create that expectation you don't want people to think, oh, it's okay, they'll wait for me. I'm always, we can always be a little bit late. They start late. You want to create the expectation that if I'm late, I'm going to miss something. I'm going to have to catch up. And that responsibility is on that person. So, and when you create expectations, people will meet them.
For sure. And I'm kind of watching the chat box, and Michael brought up a really great point. As long as the email is short. If you got to write a really massive long email, then yeah, maybe it isn't a good idea to run the email. But then also when you're looking about who to invite to that, because it's some information sharing, make sure you have the right people at the table. Because we'll go and I'll get these meeting invites and there's 150 people invited, and I've got no idea why I'm there, and the information doesn't actually apply to me. I'm less likely to show up to that next one that they book. They start to break that trust a little bit. And who knows, maybe that next one, they actually really need me. So everybody, if you know us here at the lab, we love mindsets. And you've probably heard us say yes, and that's like our go-to one. It's all about building on each other and adding things and encouraging teammates. And we always say, yes, like do this. If you're in a virtual meeting or an in-person meeting, doesn't matter. You're at a workshop, always try to practice the idea of yes, and. It's going to bring, people are going to look to you as someone that you're trusting and they can already come and talk to you about things. I get it all the time. So people say, oh, like Josh is a yes and guy. That's not like me saying like I'm a yes man, which I think has a negative connotation to it. But it's just when people come to me, I bring them up. And when you do that in meetings, you start to build that trust. But that idea of the person on the other side is human too. We see it in social media when we're responding to something. Sometimes we forget that there's a person on the other end of that tweet, that Instagram, that text message. Even, in a meeting space, we sometimes forget that there's a human there. So although we do want to speak up and we do want radical candor, we want it in a way that feels somewhat positive. And we always have that idea of like, don't forget, like I have to do this all the time. Don't forget, there's a person there. And we make sure that we do that constantly. Erin, do you want to add?
Just a lot of our attitudes and mindsets are the same in person as they are in on virtual. But one that we've kind of created for this is sharing the power, and that just means that don't assign yourself roles like you're going to do one thing. There's one person in charge of leading the meetings, and nobody else has to take on that responsibility. So share the power, move it around, try new things, try new roles on your team, and learn about the tech as a team, that kind of we're in it together attitude.
So, and I want to ask you guys, like there's so many different mindsets and things out there. What do you guys think is really important? Important? What are the mindsets that you guys think that you need to have really fantastic meetings where you think, you're making action and you're moving things forward? Just throw it in the chat box there for me. I'd love to hear from you because I'm always trying to find new ones. Oh, empathy. Jenna, that's my jam.
Yeah. Online is different than in person. Assume positive intent. That's such a good one. Give people the benefit of the doubt. That is a great one. Stepping up for a minute, ask first, then offer. These are great.
Perfect. Erin.
All right. So we've talked about the fact that virtual meetings do require more energy. It's harder to keep people engaged because the opportunity to disconnect and to multitask and to zone out really is always there. Some of the things that you can do to keep people engaged is, first of all, gain trust with them that you won't meet unnecessarily. So like we said, you want people to believe they're in that meeting for a reason. Prepare good visuals, keep things simple. It doesn't have to be all over the top, and use different parts of whatever platform you're using to engage people, like polls, like breakouts. Even just directing them to a certain point on the screen can help keep them engaged, using phrases like what we're looking at now, or using graphs and visuals instead of tables of data. Some people, what we do is actually we do virtual table drops for a lot of our meetings, and there is the expectation that people will read what we've done before they get there. We get some pushback from people saying, well, you know what, they never read the attached info. But again, if you set the expectation that they will miss out or have to catch up, rather than you're going to repeat everything again for their benefit, they will change. If you change their expectations, people will change their behavior. But really what this is about is we're going to be working differently now. The way we work differently is going to be different than how we used to. And we're going to have shorter meetings. One thing that we use are daily huddles, just quick touch base at the beginning of the day, just to see what people are doing today, how they're doing. It's not always about work. We also do team retrospectives. So at the end of every month, we get together and we say, how have we been working together? Like, are there things that have been going wrong? Are there things that are going right? What really worked? And we take a look at how we're working, not just what we're working on. And then having that attitude of we're in it together. I mean, you can explore new things, new tools, create that safe space for your team to work in and share ideas so that it's, becomes an attitude of, let's try it. Let's try it together and give each other that room to fail or that room to grow.
And that's the mindset we love, right? That progress, not perfection piece. It's not going to be perfect every time, but that's okay, especially when we're working in such a new space, one that we're not used to. There's a lot more virtually that's going on. So we want to embrace some of these new ideas and new things and just try them out. If it works, that's fantastic. If it doesn't, okay, we move on.
That's right. I mean, things have changed. Your team doesn't have to just get by with virtual meetings. This can be an opportunity to do something, work in a different way really well. And also an opportunity to shake up those bad meeting habits that you used to have, making that transition into a virtual world. I mean, there's lots of opportunities. Josh, tell them your story about how virtual huddles have changed your world.
So again, the design lab, everyone's based out of Calgary except for me. So if you don't know Alberta, I'm like an hour and a half north. So my life has always kind of been virtual, although, yeah, I have a physical space and a building in AHS. My team to me is virtual. And then COVID happened. And now we're like, okay, we need to have some more virtual huddles so we can make sure that everyone has that opportunity to connect. And it was totally new to me, this ability to run into each other in a virtual space where it was almost like the team, we all walked into an elevator at the same time, or we all just ended up in the kitchen putting our lunch into the fridge. Although it was virtual, it gave us that opportunity to talk about things that, it's just, how was your day yesterday? How are you handling things? It wasn't about a project or about the work. It was just how, what are we like? How are things going? And what does it mean to be human? And it's changed. So my team's noticed it. Like yesterday I was like giddy and positive, and today that's kind of settled down a little bit, but it's given me some of that mental health piece back. Like I feel much more connected to my team, more so than I've ever been before. So that idea of some people are like, we can't do this virtually or this can't be done. It's like I'm a living, breathing proof that just a virtual huddle in the meeting can make everybody feel 100 times more connected.
Yeah. Awesome.
So we talked about roles like hosts and co-hosts and things like that. Who here in this meeting space loves the 6 thinking hats? I would type just like a type of Y or an N into the chat box. Either you love it or maybe you're like, yeah, it's okay. Some people like them, some people don't. We come up with something that's way more fun. You're not wearing hats, you're wearing animals. And these are our, the 7 different roles that we've kind of brainstormed that are like, these are things on teams. And I want to point this out really quickly. You don't have to have just one. And I don't want to go into too much detail. You're going to know what I'm talking about when I mention it. So that eagle, they're like that 30,000 foot perspective. That person that's sitting in the meeting and they're always like checking each other's blind sides, making sure that we see the whole forest, not just the tree that's in front of us. And I know as I'm saying this, there's people on this meeting that are like, yeah, I know who that is, or yeah, that is me. I'm seeing
We've
so much in the
lost
chat
her.
box. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is that the elephant, and it's not what you think. For us, it's that devil's advocate. It's that person that's always asking a question that maybe seems negative, but really they're just kind of checking that blind side for us. The bookworm, they're doing digging. I'm just going to, Allie's our bookworm. We mentioned something in a meeting and we don't know what's going on. And literally we know behind the scenes, he's like, don't worry guys, I got this. I'm going to figure this out. And before the meeting's already over, we have an answer.
That's so
We've
true.
got that dolphin, the empathy guru, who's always making sure, like, what about our patients or our families? And they're just really thinking about that lived experience. The butterfly, they're well connected. And someone says, we need to talk to this group. And they're like, don't worry, I'm on it. And they've already got their phone in their hands and they've text messaged that person. And before we know it, they're either in the meeting with us or they're ready to join in with that next one. The peacock is that creative dreamer. They're always asking why not and why can't we, and thinking really big and bold. And then of course there's the squirrel, and we're saying like they're like the risk manager. They're making sure that we're not kind of breaking any rules, or they're trying to see like maybe we can bend these rules. They're just making sure that we're always on track. And like I said, there's not one single role that you can fill. You can have multiples, but really these are the ones that we like to see in those superpowers, and we encourage them in a meeting space. So like when the peacock has started to creatively dream, we're like, yes, and like, what else? Let's build off of that.
That's right. And you might notice there's 7 roles. There's only 6 people on our team. We have definitely things that we do well, like our superpower roles, but we also push each other to try on other perspectives. So pushing people to try different, maybe out of their comfort zone perspectives and take on roles that they're not entirely comfortable with, because we have to change these roles at any given time.
So, and I know I've already mentioned this, I probably sound like a broken record. Have some fun. There's a lot of things that I've been seeing online. Teams have created Slack channels where an entire channel is dedicated to bad dad jokes. They've got channels that are dedicated to like, we're going to build a team playlist. You know, the people are playing workplace virtual bingo. I don't know if anyone has seen this tweet, but this gentleman had worked an entire day while wearing a hot dog outfit. And you know, people were tagging each other online, and they were using multiple tools. So use everything at your disposal. You know, if you're going to play a Twitter version of, you know, the bingo, I just like jump in and do it and have some fun.
Other things like having silly self nicknames online, or having a hat day for your meeting where you get everybody to show up in the craziest hat they have in their house. We've heard of people, you know, introducing their pets because everybody's working from home. So introduce your pet at the beginning of the meeting. It's really about creating some levity. Even though we are in a very serious time, we just can't emotionally be serious all the time. We need to create more space to connect with each other with levity and a little, you know, lightheartedness.
Or maybe have a background where you're sitting on the till with a bunch of toilet paper behind you.
That's right.
But the name of game is some laughter, and laughter helps get through the day. It creates that moment of just like, I'm forgetting about the rest of the world and I'm enjoying this moment, just like the moment we shared at the beginning of this very meeting with all of you. So if you only remember 3 things, this is what I want you to take home from this. Don't transfer those bad habits that we possibly do in person to these virtual spaces. Try to break those rules, we call them rules, and just try new things. Make meetings shorter, but also make them more frequent. Make sure they're actionable. There's a purpose to them. And when you're using virtual time with purpose, and Atrin, I already said that, and I'm going to acknowledge that I didn't continue to read and I just talked like I always do. The biggest thing here is for everyone is I really just want you to try it. Have some fun. Have some laughter, put some music on with your meeting, even if it's just the 2 minutes at the beginning.
I think now we want to talk, I just occurred to me, we had a question yesterday about that annotate stamp and why some people weren't seeing it on their screen. I just want to let you know we followed up, we did a deep dive, and we couldn't find any information. What we suspect is it might be your version. So if you uninstall and then reinstall Zoom on your laptop or computer or phone, try that, see if it makes a difference. Let us know for those that you didn't have it. Now tomorrow we're going to be talking about how to make meetings a little different. Like, so what exactly techniques do we use? What kind of platforms do we use? What do we do differently virtually in order to create a more engaging kind of space for the people and shake up the typical meeting format for you?
So there's
As
some
always,
tools that people
yeah.
have been asking about, like Crazy Eights. You've already experienced some of the tools as we've been going through this webinar. We're going to be a little bit more explicit in telling you what the tool is and how you can use it. So it's going to be some really tangible stuff for everybody. And please check us out on Twitter, Instagram, go to our website, browse around a little bit. And then of course the YouTube channel, which we've put into the email. You guys will have that, jump on there, maybe watch some of our older videos. There's some really great stuff on there.
Yeah, and remember, you can always email us, connect with us if you have questions. We love to answer questions if we can. And so thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us today and trusting that this is going to be time that was worth your effort. So thank that, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for joining. You can
Exit.
unmute and say goodbye if you like.
Exit music, Josh. You need that.
I'm working on it.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey guys, can I ask a quick question about the virtual backgrounds?
Sure.
I looked it
Thank
up
you.
last night actually, because after yesterday's session, I did a little, investigating, playing, and I love the idea of having a fun virtual background. But what I found was that it seems you need to have a green screen. But are you using a green screen? How do you do it without one?
So I have looked into it. It just tries to differentiate between the person that's there and any background that's behind them. So it doesn't actually necessarily have to be a green screen. So if you notice when I did mine, the Zoom's having a difficulty with noticing the difference between the door and me. So it's only kind of doing the wall behind me. So it really will work in any situation. You don't need a green screen, but how well it works is just based off of what is behind you.
Okay, so it might depend on what type of background you use. If it's too busy, it may, because I tried a couple and it sort of faded me out, and you could see me sort of in speckles.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try again.
Yeah, if you just have a solid wall behind you, you should be able to fix that.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
No problem.
All right.
Thanks for these sessions, they're just awesome, I love them.
Oh.
I'm on a provincial team, so we work virtually and have virtual meetings for virtually everything, so this is great. Thank you.
Well, we look forward to seeing your background tomorrow, Kim.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to work on it now.
Yeah.
All right. If there's any more questions, you guys can always send us an email. I'm going to end this meeting now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.